Hello. The Divine Code reading for February 7th, pages 489 and 490. We are in the chapter, The Prohibition of Homosexual and Bestial Relations. Topic number 6. A person whose gender is not yet known, because the Gentiles were covered over with a mass of flesh, is called tum in Hebrew. A man who commits anal intercourse with a tum is not liable if it is not yet known whether the tum is a female, or a male. And that's Rambam Laws of Forbidden Sexual Relations 115. If this tum was the man's sibling from his mother, he is liable in either case. Also, there is no provision in Torah law that a Gentile can only be liable for judgment in a court of law if he first had given a clear warning of the prohibition to give him the opportunity to stop committing the sin in the presence of the eyewitness. So in the case of Jewish law, in order for someone to be taken to court in a capital offense, there has to be two witnesses, and the two witnesses have to warn the person, and the person has to acknowledge the warning and say he doesn't care and do the act in front of the two witnesses right after they warned him. And this almost never happens because it's so difficult to put this together. In the case of a no-hide court, one witness is sufficient, and they don't have to warn the person because the no-hide laws are so reasonable that they don't necessarily have to, the person should already know. So the one witness only has to testify that they observed that such and such a thing happened, which would also be difficult in these cases. We assume this stuff happens behind closed doors, but it's a different threshold of requirement regarding the non-Jew than it is for a Jew. In which case, the precise warning would not be given, and not knowing what to warn the transgressor, because not knowing whether it is a sister or a male brother. The Gentile is liable for judgment in a court of law even without a warning. Okay, so in the case of the tum who is the sibling, the mother from the mother's side is the child of the person's mother. It's either a homosexual activity or it's an activity with the sister from the mother's side, the maternal sister. In either case, the person doesn't have to know which sin they're committing. They know they're doing something that would be a capital offense in either case. So there's no issue of pre-warning. If this happened in the case of a Jewish amongst Jews, the Jew would have to be warned about the specific law that they're violating, and it would be impossible to say which law the person is violating. Therefore, it's possible that the person would not be liable. I'm not even sure if it's a criminal. I'm not sure whatever the punishment is in the Jewish court for this activity. It would be more difficult to prove that the person was warned properly. But with a no-hide court, it would not be necessary to warn the person. Therefore, in either case, the person would be liable. If it's either the brother, in which case it's a homosexual union. If it's the maternal sister, then it would be a capital punishment for that reason. Because the intercourse is either homosexual, or if it's either homosexual if the tum is male, or it is a maternal sister if the tum is female. Okay. Topic number 7. As explained in part 5, topic chapter 9, topic 4, sexual reassignment surgery. That's in the section of the dealing with damaging a person, injuring a person. Sexual reassignment surgery is forbidden because it is damage to the body that is not medically required. And it is also for a licentious purpose. Sexual reassignment surgery does not change the person's status in Torah law as a male or female. So even though they might do cosmetic surgery on the person to make a male look like a woman or a woman look like a male, it doesn't halachically change who the person is. If a man who underwent sexual reassignment surgery is the passive partner in anal intercourse with another man, both are liable for capital sin. If the other man inserts his organ into the reassigned new female orifice, neither is committed the act of capital sin, but it still constitutes forbidden intimate contact. So erotic contact between men that does not involve anal intercourse is still prohibited because it's not proper to have erotic contact with a forbidden partner. But it would not reach the level of a capital offense in that case. Therefore, if the person is with a sexually reassigned man who now has a female orifice and the female orifice is utilized, it would not be a capital sin, but it would still be forbidden. As is the rule for the corresponding intercourse with the androgenate, and that was in yesterday's divine code reading. Likewise, a female who undergoes sexual reassignment surgery remains a female. Thus, a female who transgressed and underwent sexual reassignment surgery is only permitted to have relations with a person who was born male, even if that person also transgressed and underwent sexual reassignment surgery. Even in surgically reassigned relationships such as these, the partners who are permissibly intimate should be living as a married heterosexual couple. And they're going to discuss more about married heterosexual couples in chapter 4. That'll be a future chapter in this section. So the male who's born a male remains a male, regardless. The woman who is born a woman remains a woman, regardless. Sexual reassignment surgery does not change who the person is. They're halachically still the same. Therefore, any relationship would be based upon what they were born as. So if a man has reassignment surgery, he is only permitted to a woman who he is permitted to be with. And thus a woman who has a reassignment surgery is only permitted to a man. That nothing changes in that regard, even though it might create odd looking things from the outside, but who the person is does not change based upon reassignment surgery. Topic number 8. The prohibition of bestiality committed by a male or female person does not depend upon the age of the animal. So unlike relations with very young children, where there's some question about whether or not the person, whether or not it's considered a sexual act if it's a very young child, it would still be considered injury to the person, and that would be punished as injury. These actions, the age of the animal is irrelevant because we're not looking at the animal, we're looking at what the person is doing. Rambam Laws of Kings 9:6. For a male person, it is a capital sin if he enters his organ into the orifice of a male or female creature of any species, or if he causes the male animal to have relations with him into the man's orifice. Murray on Tractate Sanhedrin 54 regarding a Gentile. Likewise, a woman who causes a male animal to have relations with her is liable for a capital sin. Oh, that's missed the part. It is forbidden for humans to copulate with other species, but if a person brings a male non-mammal creature to insert its male organ into herself or himself, there is no liability for capital punishment, but the creature's organ does not function in the manner of the intercourse that is commanded about in the Torah. And I would assume that in that case it would still be prohibited, but it would not be considered relations, because that's other animals, their organs do not operate that way, and it would still be forbidden. In Rambam, Laws of Forbidden Sexual Relations 117, Tractate Sanhedrin 57b teaches that both men and women are equally prohibited in forbidden relations from the words in Genesis 2:24, and they shall become one flesh. Since this is the source that teaches the prohibition of bestiality, topic 1:1, it is obvious that men and women are equally prohibited in bestial relations, as it says in Minhag Kinuk Commandment 2:11. So because it part of the where we learn the non-Jewish prohibition of prohibitions regarding sexual relations is from Genesis 2:24, describing the man and the woman leaving the family, and cleaving and becoming one flesh, and that the one flesh prohibits bestial relations, and the man and the woman are both liable in this case if they engage in that. Whether through vaginal or anal intercourse, see Kesef Mishnah Hilkot Malakim 9:7. In some cases, it's only vaginal orifice that is considered a liability. In other cases, it's either the vaginal or the anal orifices that would be considered a liability. In this case, it would be both. In all these cases, a man or woman is liable for capital punishment, but it does not require to kill the animal. This precept to kill the animal only applies in the case of a Jew who commits bestiality, Rambam Laws of Kings 9:6. So this is another case, and the Jewish law is different. In the Jewish law, the animal would be put to death because it's a disgusting thing, and they just want to kind of take the animal out of the picture. And this does not apply in the Gentile this does not apply in the Gentile law. The animal would not be put to death. If the court feels that it is necessary to kill the animal as to remove a stumbling block from the public, or as a penalty for the transgressor, they have the right to do so. So if we're dealing with a society where having this animal around will entice other people, then it's for the sake of the society they're getting rid of the animal. And it might also be a penalty for the transgressor that his animal would be killed. That's another possible reason. But there's no requirement in Torah law. That would have to be something that would be determined by the local court as to how to handle the situation. Thank you.